Bonjour and welcome to another video of Sim Allowance. My name is Valérie and on this episode I want to talk to you about my first Me Made May experience, all my makes for May, and also some plans I have for June. So today is a roundup of my Me Made May. That was my first time participating in the challenge. I of course knew about it, but in the previous years I didn't feel like I had enough me-mates to be worth it. Also, most of my makes up until this spring were mostly summer clothes and dresses, so it was really hard to have something to wear that I made that I wouldn't be freezing in. But that all changed because lockdown, and I had a lot of time to make a lot of things in March and April. So this year I decided I wanted to participate, but I didn't make an official pledge because I, was afraid of failure. It shouldn't be a big deal, really. It's just supposed to be for fun, but perfectionism, it's still hard to let go. Anyways, so my goal was to wear a me-made garment every day for the whole month and post a picture on my Instagram. So ideally I would have liked not to do any repeats, but that wasn't really possible. So for the first 2 weeks, about like the first half of the month, I was able to wear something different every day. I was real proud of myself. I was consistent in posting the pictures. As I was going like to the end of my pile of me-mades, it pushed me to finish a couple things that were in the UFO pile, or projects that didn't take a lot of time to make and that I had been, not making just because I was lazy. So the challenge made me realize that on one hand, you don't need that many clothes. And on the other hand, I had actually made more than I thought I had, because I was able to not repeat that much. I was pretty sure I would have to repeat a lot, but it was fine. And actually, I missed not repeating some of the things. I tried not to, mostly when I reflect back on it, because I didn't want to post pictures of the same thing twice or too many times, because I thought it would get boring for the people reading the posts. But actually, there are some clothes that I really like, and if it hadn't been for the challenge, I would have worn once every week. And I stopped myself doing that because, oh, I already have a picture of this. So, good and bad things, but it's good that I realized all of these things. It also made me realize the gaps I have in my me-made wardrobe. I don't have really any loungewear or like more comfy, like loose-fitting things, mostly because with my machine, which only sews straight stitches, I haven't been sewing any knit. And also because with the vintage style I'm trying to create for myself, most of the things are more put together, and I like that. But there were a couple of days where I would have liked to just wear sweatpants and t-shirts and still be dressed in me-mates. So it's in my plans to buy a newer machine, and when I do, I'm definitely gonna sew some loungewear. But yeah, but I had a couple like hand-knitted things that I was able to count in my me-made wardrobe, and that were more comfy things, so that's good. So overall, I'm really happy with how I did in my me-made May, and I'm definitely gonna do it again next year. It was really cool to see all the makes that everybody was posting on Instagram and on YouTube. There are, well, maybe it's due to the hashtags I follow, but a lot of people are making the Acton Cami and the Magnolia dress, which is really cool. And which brings me to the next portion of this video, which is my May makes. I honestly thought I would be able to make more in May than what I did, but as I was gathering my things for the video, I realized it wasn't so bad after all. Something I made 3 versions of, the Ogden Cami. So I had made one Ogden Cami last fall as a toile with the scraps I had from a bedsheet I made a ton of things with. It didn't go so great. I decided, according to my body measurements, I decided to do size 8, and it was really weirdly fitting. Part of it was because my choice of fabric wasn't the best. It was a bit too stiff, it had too much body for it, and also because the fabric was on a white background, I decided to completely line it with another white fabric. So it made it really stiff and it wasn't like as flowy as it should have looked. And I really felt like I was wearing a tent. So I had to take it in a whole lot, and even then I still had like weird little floppy things here, so I had to make darts, and then it was like too tight across the chest. It was really confusing. So I wore it for one day, and after that I decided it's going in like a summer PJ pile, and I forgot about it. And in May, I decided to tackle it again because summer's coming. Some days I don't want to wear a dress, so I wanted to really get the fit right. When I took my pattern pieces out, I realized that, oh, I had traced the wrong lines. And instead of tracing a size 8, I had traced a size 10, which explains why it was so big on me. So I retraced everything in a size 8, and then basted it, and I didn't put the straps in. Realized it was still too big for my liking, so took it in a whole bunch, and I ended up grading down at the waist and hips, which never happens. So I ended up with bust size 8 and then waist and hips size 4. Really, really weird for me. And then when I put it all together, it was still tight across the chest, and it was really weird because when I had basted it and tried it on, it felt fine. And so I was really wondering what was wrong, but I left it for the day, and then in my sleep, the answer came to me, literally. I realized that I had shortened the straps too much, so that pulled the whole thing up, and of course this bit is a bit narrower than this one, so that's why my chest was constricted. So I fiddled with the fit of the straps the next day, and that solved the problem. So here is Ogden Cami number 2, but first of the successful ones. It was made out of a curtain I bought at the second-hand shop. I have made a whole outfit out of this fabric a couple years ago. I have a self-drafted pleated skirt and a little crop top, but I thought wearing the skirt with this one for a looser fit would be fun, and I'm really not disappointed. It's very comfy. It's very confusing to find the front and the back on this cami if you don't have any noticeable things, so I made myself my little embroidered tag, which solves the problem. And yeah, I really like it. I wore it a bunch of times already. Super happy. I made another Ogden Cami next, which was made out of scraps I had from the pussy bow blouse I made in April. I had just enough. I didn't want to make the whole thing out of it, so I made the outer layer out of that, and then I lined it fully with white fabric because otherwise it's just way too sheer. Here it is. So same fit, so 8 at the top and then 4 at the waist and hips. The challenge with this one is that the fabric frays like crazy, so I should have hemmed it as soon as the sides were sewn, but I did not. So by the time I got to the hem, a good centimeter had frayed. It's fine because I'm really short, and so the length, like cutting some length, is no big deal, but yeah, for next time I'll know. The bigger challenge I had with this was the straps, because I didn't want the straps to be see-through, and I didn't think just the sheer fabric would be like strong enough. So how do you call that, flat lining? Anyway, I doubled it with the lining fabric, but it was so hard to turn. It took me like more time turning those straps than probably sewing the whole thing. But I'm really happy with it. I made, again, my little embroidered label. Very happy. It's maybe a bit less casual than the other one, so that's good. I wore it with a blazer once, and I also wore it with shorts, so very versatile, I think. Meanwhile, since April, I would say, I've been making many masks. So here we call them face coverings. So I've made them for me and my partner, my roommate, and friends and colleagues. And so, of course, I didn't want to buy new things. I didn't want to order online because I feel like we need to help the poor people who work for post and delivery services. They're overworked, and it's sort of, you handle things that you don't know where it came from. Could they be contaminated? I don't want to use the post if I don't have to these days. So I'm using what I have. Luckily, I had a friend who was moving out and moving in with her boyfriend, and she had a bunch of bed sheets that she was getting rid of. All of the thrift stores were closed, so she brought them to me, and I made a bunch of masks with that. But one of the fabrics she gave me was actually a duvet cover, so that's a whole lot of fabric. That's this pattern here, and I made a couple masks with it. I cut out 20 masks, barely made a dent in the fabric I had, so I decided to make another Ogden cami as a PJ top, and to eventually make a pair of shorts too. So that's the Ogden cami that I made with it. I finished it, I think, on the 31st. It's very similar to the other ones, the construction. And I offered my friend, since she gave me all of that fabric, to make her a cami as well. So it hasn't been sewn yet, but it's cut out. So we'll see how that turns out. And to go with it, I want to use the same fabric and make this pattern. I believe it's, yeah, here. This thing, but cut it as shorts. So I'll have a PJ set. That's the same pattern I used for my bloomers a month ago. So really happy, and it was so fun to see all of the hacks also that everybody was making on Instagram. So for my next one, I'm probably gonna change some things, maybe make a rounder neckline, or I've seen people make it with little ties at the shoulders, which is really cute. Some have a buttoned up front too, so I'm gonna play with that. Oh, and the ruffles at the bottom, really cute. So we'll see. Another project I made in May was something that really didn't take that long, but I had been postponing it for a little bit because, I don't know. So last Christmas, my boyfriend asked me to make him a pocket for a t-shirt. I had done that the Christmas before, so we just used a thrifted plain t-shirt, and I self-drafted a little pocket to sew on it. And so I have made him one, and I have made my roommate one, and I made him another one last Christmas, and he had requested a fabric with Jurassic Park characters on it. He had found something on Spoonflower, and although I try not to buy new things, I felt like, it was very specific. I was not likely to find that in a thrift store, and I wanted to make something special for him. So I ordered a yard of it. So I made him the pocket, and he also wanted some more fabric of the same fabric to make a dice bag because he plays D&D. And so when I cut his pocket, he had very specific instructions for the placement of the little characters on the fabric. So I cut it wrong the first time. So I had a pocket that was cut already. I decided to make it for me. So finally in May, because I was running out of me-mades and because I felt like wearing something a bit more comfortable, I had a plain white t-shirt and my things that I got at the second-hand shop. And so I made the little pocket here. So there's little characters, there's the door, there's some dinosaurs, the little kids, the glass. It's a really cool fabric. And of course with a yard, 2 pockets, a little bag, there's plenty more. So some of the masks I made were using that fabric, and I finally made myself one this weekend. Which brings me to the subject of masks. I want to really quickly show you the different models I made and I played with. So the first pattern I made was actually sent to me by a friend who's from France. So the pattern and all the instructions are in French, but it's very easy, but they have also very thorough instructions on how to like care for it and how to put it on yourself, like washing your hands and all that kind of stuff. So I thought it was really nice. It's a pattern that was released, like an official pattern that was released by a hospital in Grenoble. So the name of it is AFNOR, but I'll probably put a link in the description box. It looked like this. I decided to make all of my masks with ties instead of elastic because first, I don't have a whole lot of elastic at home and I didn't want to use it up for that. I don't want to buy elastic because plastic, and I didn't want to order online. So I made ties the same way that you would make bias binding. It's very time consuming, but you gotta do what you gotta do. The second model of mask I made is, I'm not sure, I don't know what the name is. I saw that pattern in one of Noelle's videos, Noelle from Costuming Drama. She was making a whole bunch of masks too, and she was using that pattern. So that's using some leftovers from the first dress I made when I started dressmaking again. I used a ribbon for this one, and I modified it a little bit because without a serger or zigzag stitches, I didn't want to have raw edges, and so it has four plies. Is that how you say it? I guess. And a little pocket here if you want to insert a filter. It has little flaps for the cord to go through. I really like it, but it's a bit bigger, and so for my face it's a little big. I have a lot of extra fabric like here, which I don't like as much, but I like this fabric, so I wear it still. And the last mask I made was by a pattern by Dhurata Davies. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. She's a pattern designer from the UK, and I came across her mask pattern through Abby from What Abby Makes. She posted that on her Instagram, and Dhurata made this pattern first for herself and her family, but she decided to grade it and offer it for free through her Instagram. It's a really, really nice pattern. It was very generous of her to offer it to everybody, and it fits great. And I made it in some leftovers of the Jurassic Park fabric. I made 2 actually, and they came together so quickly. Even my partner decided that he wanted to get one as well, and he wanted to make the whole thing himself. and he can use a sewing machine, but he's not a sewist. But he really was able to do it in very quickly, and it's very nice, comfortable. This one doesn't have the cording yet, but I'll see if I can find a ribbon that's long enough. Really, really comfortable, fits really nice. There's, I think, 5 different sizes, so you just have to measure from the tip of your nose to the tip of your chin, and that gives you the size you want to make. I really recommend. But also, if you like her pattern, go check her website out, and I think she has a Ko-fi account, so consider giving her a little bit of love. Hello! So obviously it's another day. I'm wearing something completely different. Yesterday I wasn't able to film everything because I film either during my lunchtime or in between students, and sometimes there's not quite enough time. So it's take 2 today. Before I forget, as I was mentioning what I'm wearing, I always forget to mention it in my videos, but I want to change this today. So this is the Sew Over It Pussy Bow blouse, the first and only one I've made so far, and it was featured in my last video, as well as my red self-drafted skirt. It's a half circle skirt. There we go. It has lovely big pockets and a zip in the back. Voila! And yesterday I was wearing Selkie combo, so my London blouse and my London skirt, and I'll post a picture right there of another time I wore both together. Okay, so I was finishing up with my masks. Now onto my other May makes. There's 2 more left, made out of the same fabric. Let me just get it. So this one was, I don't want to call it a fail because it's all a learning curve, but it's probably not something I'm gonna keep the way it is, but I still wanted to show it on this video how it was made first, and then I'll probably change it up a little bit. So it's a self-drafted skirt made out of this lovely cotton, which was given to me by my partner's aunt. I looked up the info that was on the selvage, and it was made by a UK company that makes upholstery fabrics. So it's a cotton that's quite thick. I guess it would be a bit like quilting cotton. And because of the beautiful colors and pattern, I had this vision of making a very full, not pleated, gathered skirt. And I wanted to try an elasticated back, so a flat front but an elasticated back. So I made that. I added pockets on the side. If I can find the side here. There we go. And, you know, I made it really nicely. I made French seams on the sides and all of that really nice detailed stuff. And it just doesn't sit right. It's a little weird. I don't know. The fabric, I think, is too heavy. So usually when I do a gathered or box pleated skirt, I take 3 times my waist measurements and gather pleat that. And this fabric from selvage to selvage was a little bit bigger than 3 times. So I decided to just cut the whole thing and pleat and gather that. But the fabric being quite thick, it does gather. It's fine, but it gets bulky. And with the elastic in the back, it becomes like it's bunching up quite a bit when I wear it. And also I think it becomes just really heavy. And so the elastic is not maybe strong enough. And so I feel, when I wear it, I feel like I'm really thick in the hip area, which I'm not. And also, yeah, it's very bulky in the back, and I feel like it wants to be pulled down because it's so heavy. So what I'm thinking, although I made the pockets and the French seams and all of that, I'm probably going to unpick it, at least some of it, and either just change the back to put in a seam in the center and add a zip, or just completely unpick it and do pleats instead. I'm not sure. I'll probably do just the still gathered but with a zip, because there are French seams on the sides and it would be such a pain to like unpick the whole thing. We'll see. Hopefully I'll be able to get around to that in June. But with what I had left of this fabric, I first made myself a mask. It's the French AFNOR mask. I'm sure I'm not the only one, right, who's starting to like match her masks to all of her makes. That's becoming a habit, I think, but it's fun. And most importantly, I decided to make a top with what was left. It's not finished completely. I still have to add the buttons, but other than that, it's practically complete. So here it is. Hopefully I'll be able to take pictures of it also before I post the video so you can see it better. But basically what I did is I used my B5748 bodice, and then I changed it up a little bit. So I scooped the neckline a little bit lower. I also narrowed down the straps because they really come like on the shoulder usually, and I wanted it to sit more on, like more here than here. So I narrowed them down and I moved the strap a little bit. I also made the back a little bit lower, and I changed it up so that it can be closed with buttons at the back. So that's the only thing that I have left to sew. It's lined according to instructions, and then instead of adding the circle skirt, I took the pattern of the, let me see, yes, the Selkie London peplum for the blouse. I also finished it with bias binding, which adds to the structure of the garment. So yeah, really looking forward to wearing it. And I believe that's all the garments I made in May. So that's it for me for today. I hope you enjoyed my Me Made May roundup, my May makes. In the meantime, if you would like to see my Me Made May posts on Instagram, I'm at Sewing Soprano. And if you enjoyed this video today, please consider liking or subscribing to the channel. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. Until next time, stay safe and keep sewing!